Of course, unless you've been living in Iraq recently, we've heard in the news about the jihadi bride, Shamina Begum, who is from Bethnal Green in the east of London. And basically, she went off 4 years ago with three of her school friends. Sorry, she was a group of three over to Turkey and snuck into Syria to become IS jihadi brides. I think two of them are dead. I could be wrong on that. And Shamina, has survived and has basically found herself in a refugee camp in the north of Syria somewhere, in the arsehole of nowhere. And she is now bemoaning that she wants to come back into the UK with her child because her husband's dead, I think, who's Dutch. And yes, basically she wants to come back now because IS are on the verge of losing, and thank God. And basically, yeah. She wants to come back, and the British government is saying, no, we're going to strip your citizenship, which is what they've done. You can go off to Bangladesh, even though you've never been to Bangladesh before in your life. You don't have a Bangladeshi passport, but you've dual nationality. So by law, we can actually strip you. Luxie, you've been quite vocal on this in the group. You believe that she shouldn't have her citizenship stripped. Am I correct on that?
No. I believe I correctly said, and I think I clearly said it in the group, Dunny, that from a moral point of view, I don't think there's any rightful person could allow her re-entry into a country that she has spiritually and politically abandoned, not only by going to by leaving the country at the age of 15. Her views are clear in that she regards the West as a threat to her own morals. She has condoned the attacks in Manchester. She said that they were excusable. She agrees with the beheadings. She's fully invested into the Islamic State's culture, their way of life. Therefore, she's clearly set herself apart from being a UK citizen. But what I did say as well, from a legal point of view, until her citizenship was revoked, there was nothing the UK government could do to prevent her re-entry into the country. As long as she held a legally valid British passport, she was allowed to enter the country. Under international law, a person is not allowed to have no country, regardless of the crimes they've committed. If they're born in a country, if that's the only country whereby they can attain citizenship from.
Okay.
That was my view, and I couldn't see any other way around it. From a moral point of view, I think she's scum, but from a legal point of view, she had a right to re-access the country. But there's also another question that people haven't mentioned. Do you think her baby should be allowed re-entry into the country? Is her baby culpable of the crimes in inverted commas? I mean, I don't know what crimes she's committed either, though.
Well, yeah, I mean,
moral crimes, yes, but has she committed any legal crimes that we're aware of that she could be prosecuted for?
It is a tricky one. I mean, some could argue treason, but then technically, if you were in Ireland, let's say during the Troubles, and you were, you had a British passport, and you were a Republican when the Troubles were going on, that could could be a sort of treason, because obviously the British were at war with the IRA, but technically it wasn't a war because they were political prisoners. I know there's a whole murky underwater there. I, for one, with the child question, yes, the child shouldn't have to bear the sins of the saying is shouldn't have to bear the sins of the father. But this is the 21st century, and we're all in for equality. So in this case, the child shouldn't bear the sins of the mother. Although I wouldn't want to see the child, I would like to see the child fostered and nurtured, and a success story of a refugee, because the child is a refugee, and nurtured in British values and actually growing up respecting and liking the country that has rescued said child, as opposed to coming here festering hatred through parents or families and stuff like that. But that's just my opinion. Sean, sorry, had you out in the cold there. A bit like Shamima Begum herself. What's your take on this? I mean, obviously, Luxie, you said, and I take your point, Luxie. Obviously, morally, yeah, you think she's gone, but legally, you can't see it. How about you, Sean? How do you feel about it?
I mean, yeah, I suppose it's boring, but yeah, I do tend to agree with the two of you. I suppose, I do have a certain element of sympathy for her. She was 15, She presumably was brainwashed by these people. And, radical Islam is a fucking mind virus. It is a cult. It is a death cult.
Of course.
And I would say I wouldn't completely strick her off. What's her age now? She's 19
or 20.
I think she's at that age where, I mean, I wouldn't let her back in straight away. I would interview her. I would assess her. I would fucking deprogram her. I'd really, and even if she was let in, it would be under a supervision sort of thing. The child, yeah, look, if you're a child born to a British citizen, yeah, that is unfair to not let the child back in. But then you can't let the child back in with the mother, because then, you know what, it is a bit of a fucking clusterfuck. But
and the mother has said that she won't let the child enter. So for me personally, I think, this is just opinion, I'm probably going to get shot down. I think what I have a massive problem with, sorry, just to sidetrack for a second, is that she's turned around and she says she doesn't regret joining IS. She has no remorse.
Day she said that. At 19, she's saying she doesn't regret.
No, she said at 19. Yes, that's what she's saying today. And that's what I have a massive problem with. If she turned around and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I've done this. I'm such an idiot. I just oh my God, like I was just so young and stupid. Please, anybody thinking of doing this, don't do it, for fuck's sakes." Then I sort of go, do you know what? Okay, there's hope for you. But when you're sitting there and you're saying you don't regret it, you're trying to justify what you did. There's no justification to that.
That's one thing I would say about that, Donnie. It's one thing I thought about, and I might be shot down for it as well. You have to remember
holding the guns,
where she's living and the circumstances that she's under. If you were to play devil's advocate, you could possibly say that given the circumstances of where she geographically is, there could be a possible threat to her life if she says anything against the Islamic State. Thereby, in the public arena, she is confirming the ideologies of the Islamic State. She is not saying anything that would possibly put her life at risk or her baby's life at risk by denouncing them on British national TV. So she's probably, if she's smart enough, I don't think she is, because she's only 19 or 20, she could be trying to play a fine line by saying, right, I agree with these things, but you know what, I still am proud to be British and I would like to live there again.
Yeah, but I don't. I do take your point, and to be fair, if you're in a shithole where she is in at the moment, you really want to get.
You want to be you want to be careful what you're
saying.
Out
of it. Yeah, you want to get out of it.
Yeah, there's another thing I want to ask. It's one thing, I'm on Twitter and I read the news regularly. People were saying that she might be a threat to the security of the UK state. And when I heard that, I thought that was a load of shite. A woman within a political structure, especially in the Islamic State, unless she is a woman of a certain caliber, would have no participation in the politics or the structure or the organization of the Islamic State. She basically plays no role other than being the wife of a ISIS fighter. That is her role. Therefore, I just don't see how she would be a threat to security of the UK state if she was allowed to reside in the UK again. She'd have no influence whatsoever. A woman within Islam has very, very little role in politics, if no role whatsoever. So I was kind of astounded when people were espousing that thought, that possibility.
Well, I mean, but she could be held up as an iconic figure to some degree, as a representation of the jihad. I mean, look, the problem I have with there's a couple of issues I have with this. I know what you're saying. Like, is she gonna grab a machine gun somewhere or a machete and go on a run somewhere around London or Manchester? My opinion, no, I don't think that's it. But that's not the only way you can fight a war. Look, see, there's propaganda and all sorts. And propaganda is very powerful, as we've talked about on this particular podcast and what we've seen. People tend to believe this.
But she could be used as a symbol for propaganda regardless of where she resides in the world, though. I'm sure that's already happening. Yeah,
it is a fine line. But I think you're never going to fully win, It's one of these, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, no matter what direction you take. And I think with the Home Secretary revoking her British passport, I think personally is the right message. Do I think she's going to end up in the UK at some point? Yes, I do. But should we just open a door? And because it's just the legal system is full of holes. The European Court of Human Rights that Britain will still be a part of, they have been this was another. I don't want to get talking about Brexit again, but this was another sticking point with the European Court of Human Rights, where it's been abused by the perpetrators of crime, bad crimes as well, where they couldn't be deported by the UK because it went to the European Court of Human Rights saying, "Oh, you can't stop me from having a family." So they're going to get involved, even though, you know, the whole Brexit thing, but that will take a number of years to, you know, detach the country away from that, if we do have a Brexit, of course. So I do think she's going to end up in the UK, but they have to make it as difficult as possible to say, you're not just going to walk out of here, denounce us, denounce our way of life, even though we've been good to you, for fuck's sakes, and your family who are from Bangladesh who've come over here, and then just walk back in. That's the message that they're giving. And I think
I don't think she's the one to make an example of. I mean, a woman going over to join ISIS is a rarity. I think that's probably why she's in the news so often. But the amount of young men going over, these are the ones you need to be focused on. And that's the most common occurrence.
And you know what I also worry about as well is that if she hadn't have gone to the news, if she hadn't have gone to the thing, she could have snuck back in. I believe she could have snuck back in, like so many of these guys have.
Yeah. Yeah, all she would have needed to have done is gotten to a state that didn't pose as much of a security risk to anyone that would have tried to take her back to the UK. In Syria, that wasn't possible because the embassy is closed down due to the civil war that's going on in the country. Therefore, she kept her mouth shut and then got out of Syria, gone up to Turkey. She would have been home in a few weeks.
Yeah, she's lucky to have gotten that far. Do you recall those two Austrian girls or Dutch girls that went over to join ISIS and were killed? Never made it out, and I'm sure they fucking regretted their decision. There's pictures of them, like their blue eyes behind their fucking burqa. I'll put the link in the description anyway. But I mean, if you could make an example of this woman, to say, look, it's not a fucking joke to go over and join this, people. You're either going to be you're either going to be killed, or, you know, subjugated. It's not a fucking nothing glamorous about it, sort of thing.
No, but the only thing I keep saying is that she's 19 or 20. She's still incredibly young.
It's probably one sad video away from going back anyway. You know, you get people behind her saying, "Oh, well, look, I'm a victim of abuse. I was taken at 15."
Her own father has come out and said that she doesn't deserve to come back to Britain. He's living in Bangladesh.
But he's probably saying that for a reason, though. He needs to distance himself from his own daughter. I wouldn't hold too much sway what her dad thinks about it. At the end of the day, it's irrelevant anyway.
Yeah, well, I'll just read a quote from him. He's 16. He's speaking in Bangladesh. He goes, "I know they have, the British government. They don't want to take her back, and in this, I don't have a problem. I know she's stuck there in Syria, but that's because she has done actions that made her get stuck like this. I can't say whether it's right or wrong, but if the law of the land says that is correct to cancel her citizenship, then I agree." Some, where she's from, Bethnal Green, some want her back to be given a chance, some don't. I'd love to see the ethnic grouping of that particular survey. It's true if you ever go to Bethnal Green, but that would be interesting. But they'll never disclose that because obviously that will cause more unnecessary tension.
People might get offended. And being offended today is a crime.
Yeah, heaven forbid that I have to disagree with somebody that somebody says. Obviously, with where she is, she's in a Syrian refugee camp because ISIS, whatever, mothering bastards. They're crumbling now, thank God. Trump has come out and basically told any country that if somebody has come from your country, is a citizen of your country, to fight here and they're in this camp, you need to take your prisoners back because we're just going to release them. So that's an interesting note. Second of all, her husband, who was Dutch, who was imprisoned and all this kind of stuff. I mean, some of the horrors that have come out of Syria, you won't get bogged down in it too much. But I mean, now that the Allied troops are trawling through the mess and they're starting to see things and they're hearing the stories that have been kept under lock and key, I suppose, over the last few years, as these always happen during wars, that obviously we've had like stories of sex slaves at the age of 10, pregnant women at the age of 10, children at the age of 10, and this kind of stuff. I mean, this is the life he went over to. And that cannot, we talk about she's 15-year-old, 19-year-old, but for her to to come out and say she doesn't regret her actions, and that's the sort of stuff going on. And she also she was asked, would you let the baby go over without you? She said, no. That to me, I think she's playing the child. This is my opinion. The child is
I know, Donny, but you have to understand, like, there is a very special bond between a mother and a child.
Says there is the mother over there.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think you can just denigrate the relationship between a mother and a child by the use of politics. I think she's every right as a mother to say, no, that's my child. I'm not abandoning my child, regardless of what situation that she's in. I think she's every right to say that.
Even if it means that the child could die in a refugee camp, because obviously conditions are poor, beyond poor, and she's already lost 2 children in that country to poor conditions. You don't think she should do what's right by her child?
I think it's very easy for someone living in the West to say, I think you should do right by your child, and say, hey, look, give up your child, you stay there. To ask any parent to abandon their child is one of the hardest things you can possibly do, and to be morally righteous about it. I think you have to be very, very sensitive when you're requesting that of someone.
Okay, no, I mean, obviously I'm not a mother.
No, you're just a male chauvinist.
I'm a male
Christian, white, straight male, cisgender pig, Donny, is what you were.
With white privilege, by the way, looks, you get it right. White privilege.
Plenty of white privilege there, I think.
Yeah. Sean, last word on this. We said enough on it before we move on. Do you think she'll end up back in the UK? Would you have her back? If you were living in Bethnal Green, would you welcome her back with open arms, or what would you do?
I think she will be back. I think definitely she will be back. She'll probably fucking, claim refugee status and she'll be back anyway. But I don't know. It's a tricky one. Like, they could probably use her as. Ideally, they could use her as a story to sort of say, look, this is what happened to me. It's a horrible thing, and get her on fucking Newsnight saying how dreadful ISIS is. But yeah, I would imagine she's going to come back, and I don't know what she's going to do then. Yeah, let's just see how it plays out, I suppose.
Yeah, I do think she'll be back at some stage. Myself, anyway, lads, thanks for that. That was interesting. Moving on.